And we are back from our little non-commercial interruption over here. And back, I believe we were talking to you, Stacy, to let you finish that thought. Does this end, and does it end in violence? What does this backfire on the left?
Well,
this is talking about Antifa and all of this fascism that's going on.
I think that Mike has made the point that the optics of it have already cost. The Democrats have started to realize the liability of having these masked mobs, attacking people at free speech rallies. So I think we can see some pullback, but if you go and think about the Black Lives Matter movement, there's a great book by Heather McDonald called The War on Cops. Okay, and people are going to be killed as a result of this increasing divisiveness. That's the hate coming out of the left right now. And I showed some of the images of the crazy women that were out there on the mall for the March on Washington. Well, if the women are that crazy, how crazy are the men? And I think that these, the crazy people do crazy things. And what happened at Charlottesville, it may not have been predictable, but sooner or later, yeah, there's going to be violence.
And Diana, how does this end? And let's not forget that there already was violence from a Bernie bro trying to shoot down Republican congressmen, and for some reason, you never hear the name of the person, you never hear Alexandria mentioned whenever our friends on the left bring this up and say, oh, there's been a life loss. Nobody seems to remember Mr. Hodgkins. In fact, I would wager most people do not even remember his name.
I think it's very subtle, but people don't realize that we are actually in World War III. We are. No, we are. This is not a joke. We are. Except for the bombs are coming not from the sky, but they're coming from our rights being taken away. And I firmly believe that many, many people are going to die. I do. Many, many people are going to die before this is over. People will start to wake up once that happens. And who knows, maybe in 50, 100 years, we'll go back and, have something like the traditional family and some, stable social structures, and maybe, religion will be okay. But yeah, that's how I see it.
Okay, John, I believe I skipped over you before, so let's go back to you before we get to...
Well, pass that microphone.
I just, what I want to comment on is basically Charlottesville. The thing that I find, and what Stacy brought up about how there are people, male and female, living on the edge, and we do not know what leaf falls off what tree that triggers that branch to break, that tree to split. And that is not a disease that is only to the progressives and the left. It's also, there's a lot of conservatives that are living on the edge, okay? I can think of a few. Won't go in there, but anyway. The reason I want to bring up Charlottesville is that, isn't that amazing? Do you know whose congressional district that was? Hilder's running mate.
No
McCain.
Well, he's a senator, so the whole state is his district.
Yeah, well, Congress. Yeah, to me it's all the same soup, But my point is, isn't it interesting that there was enough spin, enough turbulence, enough tornado, if it will be, enough wind blowing around to find that one person that just acted like Popeye and I just can't stand it anymore, and then snaps. And I really have to wonder if that was by design. Because Peter, I go back to the time that you and I were in Lincoln Square in Worcester, and you were interviewing me, and we were talking about the Black Hoodie movement with the faces covered.
Yeah, that was several years ago.
More than several years
Stand
ago.
Up to Stupid, it was called then.
And they were running into cars. If you gave a thumbs up to the conservative rally that was going on, or you blew your horn in favor, these people were running into traffic with cans of silly string and spraying it all over windshields and faces of the drivers. And I'll never forget that I had gone for a job interview, and I won't say where, because it doesn't really matter. And they brought up the fact of, well, we watched you on YouTube, and you were being interviewed by somebody, and it was obvious that you and the interviewer had orchestrated what was going on behind you.
Excuse me?
And I said, you know something? I'm not destitute, I don't think Peter is, but we're certainly not made of money. And you're absolutely right. We hired about 15,000 extras, about 300 or 400 motor vehicles, all converge, and we paid for them. And then we found these wacko people to dress up with hoods and things and silly string, and to really try to start riots within the cars going by. Granted, we did that, and I have to admit that. I mean, I already knew I was getting the job that was brought up. So.
This is what's called projection by the left. Matt, does this end, and how does it end?
First off, Stacy said something earlier that was incorrect, and I think it's only because he's so much younger than me and he doesn't remember how it was done back in the old days. Mastodons aren't that hard to kill. The key is you wake them up in the middle of the night, and normally my people, we would, get up like, 2 o'clock in the morning, go out to where the mastodons were sleeping, and then we'd yell real loud. That's why I project. I speak from the diaphragm. It's all mastodon hunting. The mastodons wake up, they're scared, they don't know what's going on, they start to run, and they normally trample one another. And then we have dinner or breakfast. It's pretty easy, and it really doesn't require a lot of physical force, just projection from the diaphragm. That's kind of the politics that's being played on us. We are being startled by these ugly images, by these people in masks, by these crazy ideas that the left is throwing at us to distract us from the real challenges to our nation. 36-year-olds are not children. A man in a dress is not a woman. There are real things, but there are real problems. Now, we haven't really spoken about that little guy over in North Korea that now has intercontinental ballistic weapons and nuclear bombs to put on top of them. I really don't think that the Antifa and these children, and I've confronted them personally, physically, are what we need to worry about. I think that if we're going to be talking about dire predictions, we need to be talking about much more serious issues.
All right, I've got 3 things to say on this. First of all, I think Antifa is used as useful idiots because the media and the left want another Kent State. They want a Kent State, the reason why Alexandria was so important is because Alexandria happened, the attempted murder of Republican congressmen, the body was necessary from the right. The left needed Charlottesville, and they are still looking for their modern Kent State. But I think it's going to fail, and I think it's going to turn around without much more violence because of the tech guy's second law of media outrage, which states that the tolerance of any movement, and I'm paraphrasing because I don't have it in front of me, or the tolerance of any action is directly proportional to its ability to help elect Democrats. As soon as it became clear that the images of Antifa, the images out of Boston, which while not making it into media, were shared widely on Facebook. I got more comments on my Boston stuff than I've seen in a long time. And the images out of Berkeley, there was no way to sugarcoat it, where you actually even had the point where the SPLC was saying, this violence isn't cool. Because it is now an electoral problem for Democrats, you will see it calm down, and you will see some cracking down because of it, and you will see it without a whole lot more violence because it is not in their interest. So I am actually very optimistic that we may have already won this fight, but we just don't see it yet because the other side doesn't want that fight. Now, speaking of things to win, we got one more topic I want to bring up. And there's been, in my opinion, and I'm going to start with you, John, a race between the GOP and the Democratic Party to see which group can alienate more voters. The Democrats have been rushing to either alienate parts of their base or alienate the general public. The GOP has been rushing to alienate their base. And of course, the media is trying to have them alienate others, but the media, that's always been the same. Given what we've seen from the Democrats, and given what we've seen from the Republicans, are they both trying to lose, and which one will lose worse in 2018 as they race to alienate voters?
I can answer that.
I don't think they really care about the voters.
And I don't even think that they realize that they're alienating voters. I think the reason that the Republicans are doing what they're doing right now, example, right here in this state and in the federal government, is because in the federal government, they were in second place for a long time. Now they're in first place, but they're scared. Well, we really don't know what to do with first place because the other guys have had it for so long, and they really do run the government and they still control it. But, oh my goodness, I don't want to lose my job. I like my benefits. I like my Cadillac health care. I like all the bennies that I get. I like being here for 2 terms and basically get paid for the rest of my life. That's what I think is really going on here. I don't think the Republicans, in all honesty, I can't think of one at the top of my head that if I could vote for them again, I mean, I'd really have to look at them. I think every single one of them on both sides of the street are just out for themselves. They really don't care about the public, and all they want to do is cover their fat behinds and get as many things as they possibly can. You know, one little example that's, I just saw this. They're still picking on Donald Trump because his wife comes out of the airplane in high heels.
Big deal.
Big deal. She had sneakers on when she got down there. Except, let's go back to the last big hurricane, folks. What was Obama doing? You remember?
Golfing, as I recall.
He was on Martha's Vineyard on vacation. And he couldn't get his behind off of Martha's Vineyard to go visit people of his own color, let alone any color, and go down and see how they were doing, and to offer support of the federal government.
Sure.
Trump showed up twice, okay, with basically his whole family in a shorter period of time than it took Obama to get there the first time, and plus, Trump wrote a check for $1 million.
Yeah.
Do we forget that? Because that hardly made the media. So that's why I say, I think it's, really, I just think it's both parties, and all the electoral, CYA, I just want to keep getting fatter. And it's interesting, I don't know if you realize it or not, but thank you. The Obamas are so happy. They just bought their 5th home after leaving the White House this week.
They get around. Pat, I mean, obviously here in Massachusetts, it's a very lean time in general for us. It's always a lean time for conservatives in Massachusetts. But the race to the bottom, I mean, who is actually trying to win an election now?
Well, there's first off, the Democrats are going to be just fine. Don't worry about them. They're going to take care of themselves. They don't do the circular firing squads. They have internal squabbles. They'll buy Bernie off when he makes waves. Debbie Wasserman Schultz will go away for a while and do her Jaw Binks routine. They'll always come together in the end, and they're always going to have the media there to back them up, to keep it quiet, their problems. On the other hand, the Republicans, it's a complete and total war between the leadership, the Republican establishment, and the grassroots. And there's a circular firing squad that goes on forever. The question is, are they going to be able to unite for a common purpose to try to essentially save the country from the socialism that the Democrats are attempting to impose upon us? That is the huge question. And I think because money is still exceptionally important in politics, and you still see the Republican establishment putting up the big money people, what turns people out, you can have all the money in the world, which means you can do all the paid media, but the free media, the social media, is being done by the grassroots. And that's where, the grassroots are the feet on the ground. In this state, that's what's going to happen, is that the grassroots are going to have to rule. I think there's some hope for that. But still, we're still having to deal with the Republicans in Massachusetts. Let's see, superdelegates. We just doubled the number of superdelegates in Massachusetts. So that we could, in the Republican Party, yes. Let's take a bad Democrat idea and see if we can screw it up even more. I mean, so the establishment is still going to be doing what they're going to be doing. The question is, will they get the message from the grassroots, who are the real feet on the ground, the people that are putting the real people out there, And will they be successful? That is yet to be seen. I certainly hope so, because we are out amongst the grassroots. We are the grassroots. And I think we're doing a pretty good job of turning things around in this state. You know, it's gonna be a tough fight in 2018.
Okay, Mike, you've seen a lot of this in New Hampshire over the years between the Rhino Republicans and the conservative Republicans and the cooperation with the Democrats. Has this become the New Hampshire phenomenon becoming the national phenomenon? Everyone trying to lose at once, or do they even realize that they're alienating voters? Does either side understand they're doing it?
I don't think they do. If they had realized they're alienating voters, we'd still have Senator Kerry Ayotte. Heck, we still have Senator John E. Sununu. If they had realized they were alienating voters. But they've been doing it for a long time. The grassroots is at pitch battle with the Republican leadership. And Trump is the one different animal out there, and maybe a few odd people like Ted Cruz. So, my prediction is Trump gets re-elected in 2018 if they haven't found some way to lock him up. Sorry, in 2020. But the Republicans don't necessarily keep their majority. I'm going to jump around a bit. Something Diana said that was particularly interesting, about whether we turn society around. Maybe it's not Antifa, maybe it's not that civil war, but as long as we keep on losing our rights and we aren't able to arrest the rot, if we aren't able to stop the feminazis, the just plain Nazis, which is what the thugs on the left really are, stop them from eroding our civil rights and turning ourselves basically into a police state under martial law as the only way to retain order. The lights are out, folks. America is the only beacon left in the world. The Cubans, the Russians, the others that come here tell us so. I'm telling you so as well. If we lose what the Constitution supposedly guarantees, we are in for 1,000 years of darkness. It doesn't come back in 50 years. We have to stop it, and we have to stop it now.
Okay, Stacy McCain, you're based in Maryland, you're in D.C., you see these guys more than any of us here. Are they so, and I mean both sides, are they so deep in the bubble that they do not see what they're doing, or are they more interested in the consulting jobs, in the paid jobs after they get out of office, or the power? What exactly is going on with these people?
Pete, I want to tell you a story about 2009. 2009, you will recall that the National Republican Senatorial Committee chairman, John Cornyn, came out jointly with the chairman of the Florida Republican Party and endorsed Charlie Crist in the Republican primary for 2010, 15 months ahead of the primary. And we were stunned. What is this about? Here is Marco Rubio. For years, Republicans have been saying we need to, reach out to the Latino voter. Here is this young, charismatic, Cuban American, with a great story, very well spoken, and they went with Charlie Crist, the orange, guy, and it was like, I remember going to a cocktail reception that after that had come out, and I was enraged, and I ran into a Republican consultant I know, and I was like, what the hell are they thinking? This is just enraged the grassroots. And he said, Stacy, they want their chairmanships back. That's simple. To be the chairman of the committee, you get all that staff, you've got all that. It is so much more better to be the chairmanship than the ranking member. John McCain, Lindsey Graham, Mitch McConnell. Oh, Mitch McConnell, Senate Majority Leader. What has he done? Nothing. He did nothing when Obama was in the White House. He's done nothing since Trump's been elected. If you want nothing, vote Republican. I guess that's their campaign for 2018. And it is furious because you talked about how the Democrats, they're with their voters. Their voters may be crazy, their voters may be criminal, but they go with their voters. They are where their voters are. Republicans have made it pretty doggone clear where we stand on immigration. But oh, John McCain, well, we can't vote for that, we can't vote for this, we can't do this, we can't do that. Yeah, there may be violence. I think some Republican may just finally lose it and attack the Republicans, because they're our worst enemies. Republican senators are the worst enemies of conservatives in America. Excuse me if I got a little excited.
Well, I want to say 4 words in rebuttal, and it's only a tiny rebuttal. Merrick Garland and Neil Gorsuch. I got to give McConnell that. If McConnell does not stop Merrick Garland, then the history is changed. I will give McConnell that before anything else. We owe him that one. Anna, now you were involved in the Trump campaign here in Massachusetts. We've talked about both sides trying to lose. Now, are both sides trying to lose, and is Trump trying to thread the needle here somehow?
I think both sides have forgotten the goal. And I don't want to call everybody out here on the table, but I say that I am my country before my party. And I think we need to change the narrative, because the only way that we're going to bring unity is if that's what we talk about, our country. Otherwise, we're doing the same thing. We're practicing identity politics. So I think that's what President Trump is doing, right? He's focusing on America. So we need to change the narrative. I feel more hopeful. See, you all have so much more experience than I have. I'm a newbie. I'm not even in this game 2 years, right? And before that, I never really paid that much attention. So in some ways, I have a blank slate, right? So I don't have any baggage to kind of attach it to. I think that, given that Trump has an R at the end of his name, even though we know he's not a conservative Republican, and I'm fine with that, I think that Republicans will end up getting elected if President Trump puts money in people's pockets, keeps people safe. So I do think that. I think we're going to see a lot of exciting things. I think this whole, DACA deal, giving them 6 months, all the stuff that he's doing, people are not, they're looking at it with feelings, how they feel about it. They're not looking at it with strategically. President Trump is the Bill Belichick of the Patriots. Like the two of those, they're the same.
Oh, after
they're the same.
The other night, that's not too good.
No, I know, but that's not what I'm saying. Listen.
For those of you who don't follow football, the Patriots were spanked royally this Thursday.
You can lose a battle. You can lose a battle. It's the war that's important.
And every time they've won the first game in out of the last 10 years, they've come back and won the Super Bowl.
So I'm not worried about that. But I do think that we're going to see a lot of changes in the years to come. We are. And I'm confident that President Trump is the right person for the job.
Okay, Matt.
Right.
Now,
Thank you.
are they all, President Trump gets some applause here. Now, are they racing to the bottom to see who can alienate voters most, Republicans or Democrats, and do they see that they're doing it?
No, and yes, and maybe, and kind of in the middle here.
I'm glad to see you make such a solid commitment on this one.
Well, let's start with the fact that Representative Nikki Tsongas has decided that she's going to leave. Now, I seem to recall reading in some really erudite and prescient blog
I can't imagine where.
that her retiring so suddenly from a rather cushy job that she was secure in returning to, why would she do this? Why would she not want to run again? And the reality is that it's really a lot less fun being in Washington, being part of the minority party, even if you have a secure seat, like a seat from a Democrat here in Massachusetts. This is a reality that Nikki Tsongas, who nobody not that she's diminished, but that she's just not the sharpest political scientist that we will ever come across. She's a nice enough woman, and honestly, she tries to do a pretty decent job. But she is a person of the left and believes that more government is a solution to every single problem ever, including, not eating enough green vegetables and wearing raincoats. That she sees this and she has decided that she's going to retire is indicative of the fact that there are many, many, many Democrats who realize that they are alienating their base. I believe that it is incorrect that the circular firing squad that has always been the hallmark of the grand old party is now migrating over to the Democrat Party. I firmly believe that the BernieBros have been activated and that we will have a serious schism in the Democrat Party between the loony leftists and the marginal leftists, because there are no longer any blue dog Democrats. Anybody who's conservative, traditional, has left and become a Republican, like, Charlie Baker. Now what we will see is these two nihilistic organizations that are married through convenience realize that they're fighting over a smaller plate of scraps, as they've been forced to ever since the rise of the Tea Party movement, and I will take all the credit that we deserve for that. That they will, honestly, that there will be a snake eating its own head, and this is going to be something that is going to be cycling through our politics for a long time. Now, the Republican phase, the Republicans have always been able to say one thing and deliver the other. Say one thing and deliver the other. But of course, Patrick made one mistake. He said free media. There's no such thing as free media. There is paid media and earned media. Donald Trump showed us how to earn media. You become the story, you create a stir, you create excitement, because of course nobody could turn it down. Not even the mainstream media could not cover Donald Trump, which is why I plan to learn from that and try to do that in my own style. I can't imitate him, but I can learn from his technique. What we need to do is remember that we can create earned media. That's what this event is trying to be an example of. We are putting forward ideas that perhaps many people have not heard. We are bringing people in from across the country. We are having an open debate. This is what America is supposed to be about. I don't think we all agree about everything. I've noticed many of you guys are not drinking Mai Tais like I am. And this is a good thing. This is the way it should be. We should be independent individuals. This is where I draw great hope from. I draw great hope from the fact that I believe and have confidence in the core of the American people. I know people from all over the world who have come here to become painters. That's my profession. I sell paint to painters. And whether you speak French from Canada, you speak you speak Portuguese from Brazil, you speak Farsi from Iran. You guys all come here, you try to raise your family, you try to do a good job, you try to be a good member of the community, and you want to be an American. You want to do that little extra to be an American, to be part of something that is greater than all of us, and we can only be together. And I firmly believe that this will win out. And while, it's a little unpleasant at the moment, we got to muck out the stables, that eventually we will get the government that we so truly deserve.
Okay, I want to brief. Oh.
Sorry, I have to say one thing.
Okay.
I have to say this because this has not come up, and I'm shocked by this. We have another fight, right? We have the Islamists. Nobody talks about it. I mean, they're infiltrated in our political system. They're
Right.
infiltrated in our schools.
Right.
They're infiltrated in our government. They're everywhere. They are everywhere. And they have aligned themselves with the left. There is a video, you can Google it. I think it's from 2015. It was from, I don't know if it was at a mosque or something in Chicago. Now, for those of you who don't know, Hamas, their headquarters in the United States is Chicago.
Imagine.
So there's no big stretch of the imagination that Rahm Emanuel is so invested in keeping, his city a sanctuary. But we don't talk about this. People are afraid to talk about this. But this is going on. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. And so we really have to keep talking about that, because you can't help to say, Sharia law, freedom of speech. They want to get rid of that, right? How they want, talking about dressing, whether it's the Muslim mayor of London, who when he first got elected, right, he passed some ban on advertising. Did you know that? He passed some ban on advertising. So all of these things are happening, but nobody talks about it. So we really have to put that piece of the puzzle because they are connected.
Well, there's one interesting point about Islam, and this is something I've said on the radio. John's heard me say it on the radio. Pat's heard me say it before the Friday morning group, and I'm going to say it again here on that topic. In 20 years, the Democrat Party will abandon the gay lobby and will abandon the feminists. And they will abandon them for the Islamists. And the reason why they will do this is because of the ghastly Tom Hagen math. And this Tom Hagen math is what I think is our advantage at this point. And when I say Tom Hagen math, I'm presuming everyone watching this has seen The Godfather. And there's a point where Hagen is talking to Don Corleone and saying, right now we have the gamblings and the unions, and these are the best things to have. But if we don't get into on the ground floor of the drugs, they'll be able to beat us, not now, but 10 years from now. And when it comes down to it, thanks to the feminist ideology that Robert Stacy McCain so eloquently talked about today, Stacy McCain alone has more children than the authors of all of these books that are stacked here. Think about this. Stacy McCain has produced more voters in 20 years than his grandchildren. He is exponentially alone. And I only have 2 children, and I have more than most of the women there.
I think my wife deserves some.
Yeah, your wife deserves a lot of the credit, though.
Maybe just a little.
When you look at it, when you have the abortion culture, when you have the contraceptive culture, when you have the we're not going to get married culture, when you have the we're not going to have children culture, which Stacy has made famous from his crazy cat lady starter kit images, you do not have voters. But Islam is having children. And the Democrats are doing the math. And that is why the terror attack on a gay bar became not a terror attack, because they did not want to upset Islam. And that's why even in Australia, where they're having a vote on gay marriage, Australian Muslims are silent. And they asked about the imams there. And the imam said, we don't want to upset our allies on the left. And I am predicting that in 20 years, the left is going to be embracing Islam, and because
before that, 20 years is too long. I mean, you have to. It's going to be before that.
Well, I'm saying 20 years because the children have to be old. Once the children are old enough to vote, they're going to need those votes.
Right, but I mean, the poop is going to hit the fan before that. That's my opinion, and the opinion of a lot of other people. You have 80% of the mosques in America are militarized. They are. They're funded by Saudi Arabia, 80%. Now, if you go and look at the numbers of mosques in America, they're going to tell you it's 3,000. If you talk to David Gobbets, he's going to tell you it's probably about 10,000. Because for every one mosque there is out there, there are 2 to 3 that aren't registered, that are just small little entities. So we saw President Trump go to Saudi Arabia. And he did lay down the hammer, but the thing is, he knows, because he's friends with Brigitte Ariel, he knows that they are already all over our country.